Alrighty, well, hello everyone. My name is Regine. I am the Events and Marketing Coordinator here at eScribe. Thank you all so much for joining us on episode 3 of the 3 must-know motions for meeting success. As we start off, Debbie, if you don't mind switching the slide. Perfect. Just some housekeeping rules. As you all may notice, you are all muted. But there is a question chat box on the bottom corner. So if at any point you have any questions for Debbie, feel free to type them in. If you can't hear us or can't see something, also that is the place where you can pop in your questions and comments. We will be taking questions throughout the session, but we will answer them at the very end. If your question is not answered, however, during the session, don't worry, we will email you with the answer. And we will be sending you a copy of today's presentation as well as the recording of the webinar to the email address that was registered. And now I would like to introduce our speaker. She is the CEO and founder of Meeting Solutions Group. Debi Wilcox is a professional registered parliamentarian. Excuse me, you would think that's the third time I'm saying it that I would get it right at this point. She is a meeting managed expert and executive leadership coach for women and the author of Breaking Glass, the Leadership Kit, a creative personal leadership development planner for women who lead. So everyone, let's welcome Debi Wilcox.
Great, thank you for the lovely intro. Yes, this has been, welcome to the final in the series of what we call our TEDx style webinars here. It's been an honor that eScribe asked me to do this. And today we're going to cover the final must-know motion. I did get asked, where are these must-know motions in Robert's rules? They're actually my must-know motions. When I've been going through all these different boards and committees, over 35 years, these are the 3 motions that are most used in the meetings, from advisory to council to committee. So that's why I call them the 3 must-know motions. And as we get into the training a little later, into the slide presentation, if you're a clerk or if you're a member of a board, there's kind of a method I use to train, which is your 3 must know, your 7 building block, then your ranking motions, then your procedure bylaw. That helps people to retain everything. So let's get started because it's the final must know motion. So first of all, I'm just going to highlight again, I've done this all in the other 2 sessions as well. This is based on Robert's Rules of Order. So Robert's Rules of Order is currently in the 12th edition. And I'm certified with the National Association of Parliamentarians. You can become a member, then a parliamentarian, then a registered parliamentarian, then a professional registered parliamentarian. And at the end, I'm going to give you a website that you can go and keep testing your knowledge on. The reason I like Robert's Rules of Order based on all the other ones that are out there is this one's kept current, and that's why I like it. And usually if you have a procedure bylaw, the default, in other words, if something is not covered in your procedure bylaw, then you usually rely on parliamentary law like Robert's Rules. So that's why I like Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, so we're going to do the 3 must-know motions, but I want to just highlight for 2 slides what we've covered to date in case there's anybody who's just joining us for the 3rd session. Okay, so this is what we've covered. So we've had 2 sessions where we covered the main motion and the amendment. So that's the first 2. And the 3rd one we're going to talk about in a minute. So what exactly is a main motion? It's, if you recall, I called the pyramid of precedence. The main motion is the lowest rank. It is the basic form of motion whose introduction brings business before the assembly or for your council or your committee. And you usually have recommendations on an agenda. And those recommendations, when they're moved and seconded, become the main motion. And that's where you get the main motion from. So then we talked about an amendment, which is also known as a primary amendment, right? So you have the main motion, then you have an amendment, which is also called a primary amendment. And what it is, it's a motion to modify the wording of the pending motion. So whatever main motion is on the floor, an amendment is the primary amendment, and then it's amending that main motion, okay? So then this is the third one, and it's amend the amendment. Those are your three must-know motions: main motion, amendment, and amend the amendment. So we're going to talk about this today. Now we'll talk, I'll give you some demonstrations, but to talk for 20 minutes on the amendment, probably will get a little boring. So that's why I wanted to add at the end kind of the different ranking motions. And I'm also going to go over some tools that you, as a member of a board or committee, can take into your meeting. And it'll make it a lot easier, because we all know how boring parliamentary procedure can be, but you want to be as prepared as you can be in the meetings, so that you aren't, if you happen to be a clerk or a mayor or an elected official, you aren't caught off guard and go, okay, what just happened there? So amend the amendment is a motion that modifies the wording of an amendment. So it modifies that amendment, okay? And you can have as many amend the amendments and amendments as you want on a motion, as long as they don't change the, it has to be germane to the motion, has to relate, but you can't have anything more than the amendment. Okay, so that means you can't, this amend the amendment is a secondary, right? So remember we learned the primary, so we have the main motion and the amendment's the primary, amend the amendment is considered the secondary amendment. You can't have a tertiary amendment. In other words, you can't have a third amend the amendment. And I find when I'm, working with a lot of boards and committees, that members get quite nervous when you're talking about amend the amendments, and it can get confusing. And this is where you really need a strong chair who helps guide the discussion and knows exactly what's going on the floor, what motions are before the committee or board or council. But this motion actually isn't so scary, but understanding how you use it can prove helpful, and that can boost your confidence when you need to use it. So once you've reached the secondary level, that third must-know motion, you can't put any further amendments. You have to deal with the amend the amendment, then you have to deal with the amendment, then you have to deal with the main motion. That's how it's managed. And we've got some demonstrations here to kind of go over that with you. So here's some rules when it relates to a secondary amendment. So an amendment is secondary, right? Requires a second, can be debated, majority vote to pass, and it cannot be amended. Okay, so that's your amend the amendment. Amend the amendment. That's your second. So you got primary, which is amend the amendment, and amend the amendment. Okay, confusing, right? So anyway, that's your secondary amendment. You can't go any further. Now,